Welcome to the Triple Takeover Toycast, a fortnightly podcast all about Transformers and occasionally other toy lines as well. Tonight, we're talking Studio Series 86 Megatron, because this thing's been doing the rounds, hasn't it, chaps?
Yeah.
Just a bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Not firing the rounds like a gun.
Yeah, well,
it's not
yeah.
a gun.
Well,
Get that out of the way, shall we? It's not a gun,
it's
everyone.
not a gun.
Spoiler.
World is ruined. It's not a gun.
I do find this. Let's get this bit out of the way, right?
Because are we just jumping right in?
Yeah,
One of the
this
whole.
is what we
And we
do.
do have a sponsor, of course.
Let's start again then. We've totally
pop
bought
in
this intro.
Patreon.
We've totally this intro. Let's start again. Welcome to the Triple Takeover Toycast, a fortnightly podcast all about Transformers and occasionally other toy lines as well. My name is Sixo, but more on that later because we're here to talk Studio Series 86 Megatron. And with me as ever are my two wonderful co-hosts. How you doing, lads?
All right. So this Megatron's a tank and not a gun.
It is.
Straight.
Spoiler.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
truth. Gosh. Yeah, we're going to get to all of that, Liam. All in good time.
Calm down.
Not straight away.
Calm
Let's
down,
just
calm
go straight
down.
in.
Yeah, well, we'll go straight in. Do you not want me to introduce you and all of that?
You could mention the sponsor. That's always important. isn't it?
We'll mention the sponsor. We're sponsored by tfsource.com. Do go and check them out for all your Transformers needs, as always. So they're a very good site. They've got lots of good stuff. Do they have this up for pre-order yet? I doubt they do.
bet they
because
do.
I don't think anywhere's listed it yet because
I don't think
Have they?
so. Yeah, I don't think it's up for pre-order yet. So,
Okay.
although official picks are now doing the rounds, which is
they're
good.
the Takara ones, though, aren't they? They're the kind of.
They are the Takara
that-
ones.
Because Takara don't realise still that everyone else can see them. That's how I imagine Takara when they put this stuff out. They're like, Hasbro haven't done theirs yet, but
I
nobody
know.
else will see these ever. Only the people of Japan. That's how the internet works.
I love Takara's marketing, honestly, because it's when the Hasbro version of a toy has been out for like 6 months or something,
And
then
they
they put out
silhouette
a silhouette teaser, like, "Whoa,
What's
it
it
gonna
gonna
be?"
be?
The internet is not global, guys. Don't worry.
It's localized internet.
There's always the really good thing, though, with Takara when they do this, is that they then put out images of like early color schemes for the toys. So like when they did the Arc and it was a different shade of orange, and because it was so far after the Arc was already out, everyone was like, oh, I wonder if Takara's version will be like that. And it's like, no, it will just be the same as the Hasbro one. This is just what they always do.
Yep.
And it was the same with the Nemesis, and it wouldn't surprise me if Megatron actually looks slightly different when Hasbro,
Catches off guard.
People still don't really know what color this toy is, because obviously there's been tons of leaked images, right? And we will kind of address that as well. But it's a very different color depending on who's taking a picture of it.
It really
fair to
is.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was the thing with the same thing cropped up with the pictures of Megatron, because people are looking at the shins and going, oh, they look different in this image.
Look
and I just
blue.
wanted to scream, this happens every time with Takara images. You can't judge it yet. And it might look like that, but it might just be that they used an early version of paint there. So the one in hand is probably the real one.
Well, either that, or people really need to wrap their head around things like white balance on a camera and stuff like that, right? Because honestly, I remember years and years ago, there was some folks online that were having a pop at some of my photographs because they thought that I was digitally changing the color of the toys. And I was like, well, no, I'm not. But it's just, if you take a picture of a toy in a different room, the color changes, right? It's not like the physical color of the toy, but the photograph changes because of the light and the white balance and all of the other things that go into photography. That's just, like, people know that, right? But it doesn't seem that they do.
They don't.
It doesn't seem that they know that at all.
They don't know how much we suffer with stuff like this. Like the amount of time I spent in Lightroom and then sometimes just give up going, the white balance has changed. I've used a different backdrop. Like whenever I use that, the cardboard arc setup when I use it, I hate using it because for some reason the orange card, the way
anything orange,
it's the way it absorbs the light. Yeah. And no matter what I take in it, it makes everything look duller and darker, despite the fact it's actually, it just goes in the same place as everything else, and it's more room if anything. So it should there's technically more light getting to it, but just the way it bounces off into the camera. It's like, unless I mess with the white balance, it always looks wrong.
No, it's so true. I get exactly the same from my desk because it's like wooden color, but it's got this kind of like almost yellowy light that obviously bounces off it a little bit. So, and then sometimes, with white toys, it makes them look a little bit yellowed. Like even I get pictures back sometimes, look at them on the computer and I'm like, is that toy yellowed? Oh my God, is it yellowed? And then I honestly go and look at it somewhere else. I'm like, oh no, it's fine. But I have had that before. And as well, I find that it can be very difficult to get consistency with colors in photographs a lot of times, and I say that as someone that takes my fair share of them. But this is why a lot of that photography editing software and stuff has the capability of matching color between two images.
Yeah.
That's exactly what all of that is for. And
Yeah.
it is wild when people are like, why is it a different color? And it's like, it's just photography. You know?
Yeah.
That said, I do think that the leaked version looks more blue. Fair to say. There's something.
Yeah, it does.
But
it does.
Yeah.
Even just with the images that I've got in front of me here, there's one set that his shins look bluer.
Blue
The other one
shins.
that they look completely grey.
His shins are usually a grey blue, though. That's it's the kind of a bluey tint to the grey. Not as strong as it maybe looks in this image, but yeah, there is definitely a blueness to it. But there is generally to Megatron's shins, I think.
I'm going to go with what Sixo's saying, that this is more to do with the photography, because there's some side-by-side comparisons with the Prime in some of these images, and that Prime looks very bright as well, and a bit garishly
very
so.
saturated.
Yeah, so I reckon it's going to be in hand. It's going to be different, right? It is going to be different.
But am I right in thinking then that we all think this looks pretty good on the whole? Like we think it looks like a good toy, or not so much?
Yeah, that's all right.
I think it looks cracking. I know, Liam, not so much.
Wow.
Really? Hard one to please there, Liam.
A bit undersold, are you there?
No. I think it looks good.
Really? Just good? Just good?
Not blowing your mind?
No, well, right. The things that blow my mind is how it gets into a tank from that robot. Like you look at it, and I can't.
That's really something.
It's that's spectacular. The actual look of the robot, though, it is great. It looks very good. I don't know. It just looks good. Yeah, I like it.
I think it looks great. I think the robot mode looks absolutely cracking. It's like side-by-side comparison with Prime. It's got all the cartoon vibes going on as well. It's like at this scale as well, when we're talking about this, it's just, I think, we'll get into the engineering and how it gets to tank mode later on and stuff like that, but what a stoic Megatron we've got going on here with all the greebly bits that I love.
I like the greebly bits. The greebly bits are good. The extra detail, I like that.
Yeah.
There's something about it, though. It doesn't look like a Generations toy. I think
it doesn't.
Playing with my brain when I look at it, it kind of looks like it's a toy from something else.
Well, it looks a little bit like a masterpiece in a way, in that it's not the same as like MP36, for example. There is differences to it, but there's something about it that has that kind of idealized look, in my opinion. Like you look at it and you think, I had the same thing with SS86 Prime, in that you almost look at it and it's not the same as other toys, in that it's so cartoon styled. It's not exactly one-to-one like the MPs, but there's something about it that feels sort of immediately definitive in a weird way. Like, how are they ever going to do anything that is more cartoon Megatron than this, right? Like, short of making a gun and that whole thing, but we'll get into that later. But there's something about it, and you're right, it doesn't look like a Generations toy. Like, if you look at this versus the Earthrise mold, for example, and particularly like Earthrise Optimus Prime is the same thing, that is clearly what a Generations take on cartoon Optimus and Megatron is. Whereas there's something fundamentally different about this. They've gone for a very obviously animation, super slavishly styled flair with this that sets it apart somehow. I don't know. It's hard to put your finger on.
But isn't it that there's a premium feel or look to it, not feel because it's not felt it, but there's a premium look to this in my mind compared to what you're talking about when you get like a kind of off-the-shelf Megatron, something like that. There'll be panel gaps. Like, this is the thing that when I'm looking at this and I first saw it, I'm like, I'm not seeing any like obvious gaps or.
No, it's very clever.
Yeah, like it just looks really solid. It must all
come out from the back, doesn't it? You feel like it must be just kind of tucked in because there's a big flap on the back. So
there is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm looking at the back there. Yeah.
But they've shown off the back of this thing. It is tidy. They've shown off the back of this thing pretty proudly, and
that's very clear as well.
Yeah, there's some really clever stuff going on from what we can sort of see of it. I mean, I should stress, I have not paid any real attention to the leaked photos of this. I don't know if there's videos. Maybe there is. I've not watched them. I've not been interested to kind of go in and look at any of that, and we'll talk a bit about that whole hoopla later. But for me, I waited pretty much for the official pictures, and I was happy for that. And it's just been really fun to see. I think it's funny because you could look at that robot mode and think that it doesn't transform in many ways. There's not much evidence of it from the front anyway. Particularly, there's not really much evidence, and certainly not that it would turn into a tank. And I think that's the real weird thing about this, is that it's almost so idealized as cartoon Megatron that it's hard to believe that it does everything that it does.
Yeah. It could be one of those Super 7 statues, couldn't it? From that front, the way
almost.
It looks. Just going back to the back of him as well, the tank treads and the fact that they're flipped in on themselves. And just how that's all working. And I do remember when I started looking at these, I was like, all right, so they're probably going to flip around there. And I think, for me, I reckon this will be a pretty nice transformation, quite a fun one.
I do think the legs is majorly clever because, of course, the way the tank treads form the back of the legs is very reminiscent of obviously the grip on the gun handle.
And
that's true. I think is such clever design, cool. Incredible
flex, isn't it? Really, it's a real nice attention to detail to show where parts should go to evoke something else as well. There is one thing I'm not keen on, and I'm hoping, with the actual toy, I think it might just be mistransformed, and it's the fusion cannon on the arm. It looks
weird.
The back end extends too far, if you know what I mean. It's like the front is pressed in. It's too short, and the back is too long. And once you because I kept looking at it going, when I first saw the photos, I was like, it looks amazing, but something looks off, and it took me a few seconds, and it's like, it's the fusion cannon. It's like, you can tell the barrel should be longer and the back should be shorter. So I don't know if there's a mechanism where the back can push in and it extends the barrel.
Don't think there is. No, every picture.
Because you look at the tank mode, it looks molded on that bit.
I think so.
That's so
it's a
close.
Weird one. Yeah, the fusion cannon is not quite right. It's not there.
No.
It's not. It's such an iconic piece of Megatron's design, and
it's just too high up on his arm as well, I think.
Yeah,
it's just a bit weedy, maybe.
Well,
is that what it is?
If you look at the Masterpiece one, you can see how the fusion cannon generally sits. It looks big, but it looks generally how it goes. But then you look at Megatron's, and it's kind of like it's got like a microphone stuck to his arm.
It is a strange one, definitely.
Or a lightsaber.
Yeah, totally.
It was one of the first things that I think a lot of people sort of called to attention and were kind of not sure about. And I can see why, because it's not quite doing it. I must admit, for me, the other one that is I'm having a little bit of trouble getting over. I love this thing and I think it looks great, but it's the lower legs. I think specifically the feet. Because once you notice how wide his feet are, it's very hard to unsee.
Yeah, no, I quite
like his big boots.
He's got huge flippers, man. Like they are ridiculous.
They remind me of that spaceship from Rogue One. You know, the one that Krennic is flying about in that weird little triangle thing,
right?
They steal.
But they're just massive, and they're way bigger than the Optimus's feet. And they're way bigger than Megatron's feet typically are as well. I mean, like the Masterpiece, again, MP36 has got very sort of thin, tapered feet because that's what cartoon Megatron is. And I don't think this needs to be one-to-one with the cartoon. I'm not expecting that. But I think it's just the way it tapers out from the bottom of the ankle. You want that kind of flared ankle because that's very reminiscent of his classic silhouette. Yeah. But then it's the fact that the feet are as wide as the bottom of the the leg. It's just a bit strange to me.
They do look like that they can pivot as well, or has it just got an ankle tilt? Because as soon as you get away from it being kind of vertically aligned with his lower leg, it doesn't look quite as bad because it just does form one.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah, you are right. It's in the stoic pose. It's most noticeable, isn't it? Because it kind of forms part of the leg tapering almost, but with a bit of ankle tilt it's a little bit better. But I'm having a hard time unseeing the feet. It's like whichever picture I look at, I'm like, God, the feet.
He's just sub-aqua Megatron. He's got little flippers on and he's off for a swim. That's what it is.
We spend a lot of time talking about feet on this podcast, don't we? Like in inordinate. Well, I wasn't going that far, but
wait, what have I signed up for? I didn't know
exactly.
About this.
It's like Liam was complaining about old Jinrai not having
no feet,
not having enough feet, and this guy's got too much.
Yeah, I know.
He's got
That's why they hate each other.
Yeah. There's a foot ratio somewhere. There's like an idealized foot ratio that you want.
I think one of the things that always throws these toys off as well with the feet is actually where the legs sit. Like if you look at the Studio Series Prime, it's a really common thing on Transformers toys because of just how they have to work. But if you look at where the thighs come from the hips, they're really far apart. And so when you look at it, it always looks slightly off.
You're talking about his thigh gap?
Yeah, well, the anatomy of a person, like if you look at, say, the animation from Megatron, they're all drawn like people, so their thighs are very close together, and they kind of A stands out. But when you look at the toys, they're always quite far apart. So there's always an instant thing where you're looking at going, something just looks slightly different. Not in a bad way, it's just different. And I think that always makes, when you've got larger feet as well, it just kind of makes the legs feel like they're even further apart.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at a dead-on picture of him here, and his feet are they're like bigger than his head. Seriously, like it's just a proportional thing.
Spades.
Yeah, they are like big spades. Honestly, it just kind of kills the look for me slightly, and I only nitpick it. I wouldn't normally mention it, I don't think, but it's the fact that everything else, other than the fusion cannon, is so spot on that it's just that weird thing. It's almost like 95% of it is pretty much perfect, and then there's just these one or two little details that you're like, oh.
I wonder if we'll get an upgrade kit with new feet and new gun, because the feet don't look like they're important for the vehicle mode.
No, they just fold away, don't they?
That's true. And
I don't know.
Yeah, you can see them under the tank in one of the images.
They'll be straight out with a new fusion cannon, someone. So I wonder if they'll pop in some.
Yeah, they just fold in
smaller shoes.
I see. Yeah, they do fold in, don't they? Yeah, so they could be. That's wild then, because I assumed that they were skinnier, big for transformation, but they're not.
I'm wondering if it's some kind of, is it a cost thing, right? They just did a big lump of plastic. It was easier. But
no.
Yeah, why would they? There would be no this more plastic, isn't it? That makes sense.
I think it's to match the cartoon in the proportion to the shins, because his feet are about as wide as his shins. So if he's got to have these wide shins as they've built for him, if the feet are smaller, they'd look different. You know what I mean? I think they've tried to strike that balance of the foot being
I see what you're saying.
as wide. You know what I mean? And I just don't think it works. I think it would have worked as a smaller foot.
It's true. If you just look at the classic image of Megatron on Transformers Wiki, and he does have big shovel feet, right? Image, so it is kind of classic there as well.
Yeah, I guess it's just one of those things where sometimes these things, when you translate them to kind of 3D form,
it's exactly that.
Yeah,
you need to make sense of them a little bit. Yeah. And I mean, look, far be it for me to say what the hell have they done with these feet, but it's just one of those where it doesn't quite sit right in my mind's eye, but. Overall, it looks great.
I think you can see why they've done it. They just probably, again, they should maybe taken a little bit of a liberty there and just refine it a little bit.
I think so. But it still impresses me how close to the cartoon this thing is overall. But like in a good way as well. I don't look at it and think, oh, wow, this is cartoon accuracy gone mad. It's not like it's completely overtaken. They've sort of done it in quite a nice way where it is cartoon accurate, but not to a fault.
Yeah. It's cartoony, but with more detail, which is what you want. Like, all that added stuff just looks great on him.
Agreed with all of that. It's got all the right hallmarks. It's got his little chest dials and lights and stuff.
That's the stuff I want to see, totally.
Yeah.
Like I have the Yellow Park Megatron, which is very cartoon accurate, and it's great, but whenever I look at it, I can't help but think, it looks a little flat. Because it just looks like the cartoon, and it's meant to look flat, and it's just a personal film where you're like, I wish it had some more detail.
Yeah.
Whereas this has tons of like little circuitry detail all over his arms and stuff. Like, this just looks way more like what I want from a Megatron.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at it next to the Masterpiece actually, because in some ways, it really shows you where the Masterpiece kind of hits those animation notes more than this thing does. But at the same time, that's only by direct comparison. Whereas actually, when you look at this. You could easily fool yourself into thinking this is exactly what Megatron looks like in the cartoon. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of so idealized. I keep using that word, but I think that really is kind of what this represents to me. I think the head sculpt's really good as well, honestly.
Yeah, I love that head sculpt. I'm totally taken by that head sculpt.
It's amazing.
Just, I think it's because it's maybe giving me just the illustrations that I used to see of Megatron and the way it looked. Just really that slightly longer face. And there's just something about it that it evokes Megatron and his kind of helmet head that he's got going on as well.
I know why you say that, but when I look at it, I see more Skybound Megatron because I think it's because he's wider. He's got a wider frame than the cartoon tends to have, which is
a bit more beefy.
Yeah, when you look at the cartoon animation model, you look at it. He's a very slender robot. He's not the massive gladiator that a hulking robot that he always tends to be now. But when you look at this, it's like it's all those design elements, but on a wider frame with more detail. And it's like,
you're right.
I would love to see this missing an arm and with an eye full of wires and laser beak.
Someone will do it.
That's going to come. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The fact we got the fusion cannon for Optimus Prime, we're going to get some of that.
There have already been customs of that from Skybound, but not using this Megatron, obviously. But people are on that already. But I can totally see it happening. But I do think you're right. It does have a little bit more, like in the thighs and this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, the thighs should be seductive, and I think here they are.
Always.
That's
part of the remit, part of the brief.
It is when you're making a Megatron. They've got to be.
Seductive.
They've hit that note.
They have. It's just, I love that they've, on the surface, it looks like cartoon accurate Megatron, and it's that for who wants that, which people like me as well. But then the more you look at it, you start to feel that there are other influences just below the surface, just in a way that's not overt, but you can just feel it. Like it's wider. There's extra detail. It's just a little bit more for more people. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm into
I think that's all fair. I thought the choice of accessories is a weird one because there's a couple of things here. Firstly, obviously
himself?
He's got his little. Well, yeah, exactly. He's got himself as an accessory. I mean, that I thought was brilliant. And to be fair, I'm sure when we spoke with Evan that we joked around this idea of Megatron coming with a little Walther accessory. And he was like, maybe. Do you know what I mean? So I think we did know that was going to happen. I could be wrong, but I'm sure we had that conversation.
No, you're right. Because when I first saw this and it had it, that was the first thing that popped into my head.
Right,
was Evan's face, almost doing like a
coy
laugh.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a great idea because, in a way, obviously, and we'll get to it, but obviously, people are going to be upset. Some people about this not turning into a gun. But this is kind of the ideal arrangement in a way, because whenever he did turn into a gun, he always shrank anyway. So you can't do that in toy form. So actually having the accessory sort of overcomes that in a strange way. Like you could just not transform it, and you've got the accessory, and you should be good. I guess give it to
Starscream. That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do think the gun is not the best though.
No, it could quite easily be a wrench if you put it in a different way.
Yeah. It's going to sound like a real petty thing to query, but what's the little grey bit on top of the scope? There's like a little grey peg. Do you know? You see it?
Oh, there is.
Yeah. I wonder if that peg's in somewhere.
Is it for weapon storage or something? Oh, yeah, it is. It's what pegs it into his back. If you look at the back picture of him from the rear.
Oh, yeah, you can see that hole. Yeah.
It's what tabs it into his backpack, which is a strange choice because it could have just pegged in via the handle, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Like there are possibly other ways that could have gone down. But
I find it funny that the laser sword pegs into his back because it makes sense because it's a toy. But it's when you think it's a laser sword.
It's a laser sword, yeah.
He's carrying active laser sword burning his butt cheeks all the way around the place.
Well, the laser goes off, Liam, when he's got it on his back. There's built-in safety.
It doesn't because it's
I'm looking at a picture of it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I've never thought about that. There's no off version included.
No, that's what I mean.
Feedback. We have feedback, Hasbro.
That's what I mean. Like, obviously, it makes sense in toy form and all that, but it's like the logic of it actually makes sense when you think about it.
I thought the laser sword was an interesting addition, actually, because you don't, other than MP36, you don't really see that in toy form very often. Like that, they didn't include the mace for one thing, which I get because it's not from the movie. It's from the pilot episodes of the cartoon, but they did give Prime the axe.
So they did.
They gave Springer a hammer.
Yeah, that's true, actually, which is completely random. But it's the fact that, like, if you're going to give Prime the axe, you would give Megatron the mace, right? Like it's kind of the alternative to that. So that's the only bit that I thought was strange, was the sort of inconsistency of it, if anything. So I don't mind that they haven't given it to him, but I just thought it was an odd one.
I wonder if you can sort of get away with Prime by going, well, it might be in the film, might be stored in his trailer.
Maybe.
Even though it comes out of his arm.
Comes out of his arm, exactly, yeah. It's always there.
Maybe,
But then equally, that was the same for Megatron.
Got it on his backpack.
Hanging off his back.
Just hanging off his back, burning his bum.
Prime always seems to come with the axe now, doesn't he? No matter what toy. Which is funny considering for decades he never did.
Yeah, it's more since MP1, really, isn't it? It's become like a real staple of Prime toys. For sure. But I did think it was strange that like they've gone for the mace over the gun, like the what's it called, like the gun of betrayal or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like the gun that he uses to shoot Prime.
The little
when he's
purple pistol.
pistoled. The little purple pistol. Yeah. Well, I guess they figured that we're doing the Walther, so maybe we don't also need the other gun. Do you know what I mean? It's two guns.
Johnny Two Guns.
Or Johnny Two Guns. And he's got the fusion cannon.
I would have preferred the gun from the movie, to be honest, because that's the point.
Over the laser sword.
Yeah, and just have over the version of himself. I'm not
really?
I'm not as bothered about that version of himself, to be honest.
See, I think they had to do that.
Does transform into it in the movie?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course he does. That's true.
Yeah, the fact that they've not made him a gun for alt mode, which I totally understand. Of course, we've talked with Evan about that on the pod previously, but I'm sure we'll address it. It's like the elephant in the room, isn't it? But the fact that they've not turned him into a gun for alt mode, I think they had to include it as an accessory. And it's sort of an obvious one because of the way it shrinks down, as I say. Again, though, that is not a Walther P38.
No, not at all.
Around it. It's just...
It's a musket.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with it.
Although I suppose, in the mode, the Takara photo, it's actually just got the huge silencer on the front of it, doesn't it? That's what it is. Okay,
it's just but that's the thing. It's a box with a stick coming out the front of it for the silencer. It does. The actual main body of the gun doesn't look like a Walther at all. With like the grip or any of that. And I get that they've got to get it into like Starscream's hand. The SS86 Starscream. But I think it's the fact that we've seen the Walther in toy form so many times before, and it's by and large always been done very well.
Yeah.
It's always looked really, really good. And not just for Masterpiece. I mean, even the G1 toys have had little Walther accessories that are better than this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd actually missed the image of it with Starscream holding it just there as well, because it does look like a very generic kind of from any 80s kind of line of toys. I'm not, it's like fine, but
yeah, it's fine.
Do we broach this subject now? He's not a gun, because it is the elephant in the room.
Oh, come on, Jason, throw it now.
Come on, Jace.
I don't care.
You're mad about it, aren't you? Look at him, seething.
I'm not a huge fan of guns either.
The angry
I'm not a huge fan
curveball.
of tanks either. I'm not wedded to a Transformer being a specific thing, if you like, for the kind of character. It doesn't define the character is the robot mode, right? And then I'll slightly caveat that with that I wasn't entirely happy with they can be anything, but Megatron being a tank is a brilliant alt mode for me. It's menacing, it's imposing, it's terrifying, it's the front line of any war.
It's a giant gun.
It's a big massive
gun on wheels,
and he's that hulking mass, of it as well. Just the whole gun was best of respect, but it was from Diaclone, right? That's where it came from. That's why we got him as a gun.
Microchange.
So, yeah, I knew that it was microchange. I know about these Transformers. And
pedantic.
And that was robots in disguise. That was the purpose of that line, obviously, as well. But for me, we'll ignore all the "could you release a gun" conversation now, because they can't. Full stop. They just can't. And Evan talked about that as well. But I love Megatron as a tank. I talked about before, with the versions that we've had him as a tank, and there has been some stunning versions of him as a tank as well.
G2.
I'm not sure this is the most stunning version of him as a tank, but it's better than a gun.
Fine. It's way better than it has any right to be.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
The thing about him not being a gun, is I'm quite happy for Megatron to be a tank, but this comes with a caveat that this toy, they've backed themselves into a corner here, because this is a Studio Series 86 toy that's very much got the Transformers the movie logo, and they are selling it as it's Megatron from Transformers the movie 86, and understandably they can't do it as a gun, so you can understand that, but you can also understand why there's this kind of awkward feeling about it, that it's not exactly the thing it's purporting to be, and they are trying to sell it you as, even though they're doing their best, and you can kind of go, I like it for what it is. I think it's great. It's a fantastic compromise, all of that stuff. But it isn't the thing that they are trying to tell you it is at the same time.
I have seen people very specifically that being their issue with it. Like, people are like, no, I like the look of the toy, or I like the idea of it, or whatever it might be, but it shouldn't be in Studio Series. And people sort of have that issue specifically about the packaging. And because that's, to them, that's not what Studio Series represents. I gotta be completely honest, I don't give a f***. To me, it's just It's just a box. You know, like I really don't
Gangster Sixos.
care. Exactly. Just telling it how it is.
Rolling
But
down
I
the
don't
street.
because
Yeah.
to me, honestly, I think this distinction between Studio Series and mainline generations and all of this, it's all a
blurry
little bit.
lines.
It's very blurry line.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, all of these toys are meant to work together anyway, really, aren't they? And like the fact that you get, you know, repaints from Studio Series in Legacy, you get repaints from Legacy and Age of the Primes, whatever, in Studio Series. They're obviously meant to work alongside one another. They're in a consistent scale. It's the same engineering, you know, all of that. They're all right. They're predominantly designed by slightly different people. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's Mark or Evan, but still, there's a lot of like cross between these two lines, and they are meant to work under the kind of Generations banner, you know, together, sort of like sister lines, if you will. I think even more than that, actually. I think they are pretty much two halves of one line in a funny way, you know?
Yeah. It's just Generations, really, isn't it? It's
exactly
what they've done.
There's
little different names for them, but they're all one thing. But that is sort of the problem, though, isn't it? They have painted themselves into this corner of, here's a separate thing. This is why you should be excited about this. And when this toy is released, it will have a little blurb going, fresh out of the 1986 movie. It's Megatron with screenshots and a fanfare and all of that stuff. And the box will have all of that stuff emblazoned on it as well. And I don't agree with it, because for me, the boxes go in the bin.
Right, exactly.
Because all of those toys, like you say, they all go into the same sort of lineup. Like Studio Series 86 Prime sits with Legacy skids and you know, and the Kingdom Datsuns and, you know, Earthrise things, all of these classics toys, Universe 2.0 toys, Combiner Wars, they all are in the same sort of realm. That's what they are. That's one line. But I can understand as a collector, which is what they are targeting now. This isn't Generations. They aren't saying that in the same way.
Well, serious,
not for kids.
Serious men's toys now.
Serious
this is for men.
But it is, though, isn't it? That's what they've done to themselves. They've stopped trying to make these for kids. Yeah. They are appealing to people like us who are. You guys are older than me, so you'll know more than I do.
Whoa, we do actually know more than you. No, that's true. We do know more than him.
No, but you're doing that thing again. You're doing that thing again where you lump me in with Jason. Where
look, I'm happy to be a lot older than you two, because I'm wise, right? Wise with my years.
When you look at me, young as me, looking up.
Mere months between you and me, Liam, and then years between me and Jason. So
wait until I dye my hair for TFN, though, then I'm a little younger than both of you. You know.
Where is Maz on this age chart? He's still older than me and you, isn't he? But
yeah.
He's below Jason. That's me. I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, everybody is.
That is a sign of aging. You know, when you start
it's like there's like a narrow slither of light between you and me, Liam, and then there's like a sort of like a whole window between me and Maz, and then there's like an entire galaxy of light between Maz and Jason.
I exist in the Star Wars universe.
Before time began, there was the J-Swags.
A long time ago.
Where websites exist.
A long time ago in a Scotland far, far away.
Exactly.
It's true.
But this is what they've done to themselves, and they've created this whole thing now where they are pursuing collectors, and their brands are collector focused rather than, because they've turned it so you are going to get people with that mindset of something has to be the thing they are, you know, what they want. Not so much, it's not them dictating to the toy company what they want. It's the toy company giving them the thing they want, but it not being that. Do you know what I mean? And I think
totally.
Like if you were a Star Wars collector and they've said, here's a New Hope Luke, you know, and all of his gear, but it said he was wearing like the Return of the Jedi flipping black robes, you'd be going, that's the wrong thing, you know, that's a different thing. And I think there's an element of that where people, if you're going to sell someone something and tell them it's this exact thing, there will be people who expect that, and they will be disappointed. Not just disappointed, but grumpy. They shouldn't be, but that's different people, isn't it? People.
Well, this is it. And look, it's easy for me to say I don't care.
They're not wrong at the same time.
I'm not dismissing those concerns.
Yeah, same here.
That people have that as well. I've seen people saying that they wouldn't have minded this toy being made, but maybe they could have put it out in Age of the Primes packaging or whatever it is, just to kind of so people know what it is, but it's like in a different box. But equally, I get what Hasbro's trying to do here, Hasbro and Takara.
There's no win situation for them.
Yeah,
Hasbro,
exactly. And we had, as you said, Jace, we had Evan on. We know all the reasons why it can't be a gun. Although people still argue about this, right? Like I did a little video on YouTube about why do people kind of think it's going to be a gun? It's obviously not going to be a gun. And God, I still get comments on that thing. Still get comments from people going, "It absolutely could be a gun."
I know.
Like you're a moron, and like people get quite angry about it. Actually,
you're a moron. Good
on
you.
Oh God,
well done, team.
Like insulting me personally because
oh my goodness.
and like talking about the Hasbro designers that they're all idiots, and there's like some of the comments are really quite full on, and it's quite funny because why get so angry about it? Like it's just a toy, really. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's the fact that, and forgive me for saying this, I think it's the fact that it's a gun specifically, and that is sort of like there's a whole emotive subject anyway about guns, and I'm talking about like in America here, right? Like the whole kind of censorship thing around guns, and that's a whole debate. And I don't want to get into that because that's like a whole separate thing. Although clearly gun control is a good thing. That's my personal take on it all. But
stop deaths.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Like I mean, UK, you remove guns, you remove kids getting shot. Like it's pretty straightforward. But that's the whole thing. Just to have my point there. But regardless, I still think that it's understandable that Hasbro and has to work within the confines of the landscape there, right? And you can
the law.
Yeah, well, yeah. To be honest, I don't.
But also, tastes have moved on.
Exactly. I don't even think it's specifically just a legal thing. Like, I don't think it's like a law saying you can't make a toy gun. I think they're going to have
guns, isn't there?
There are toy guns and things. It's the colors.
It's how realistic it looks. This is it's the realism.
You're not allowed to sell toy guns that look as realistic, but you do still see them like in cheap shops where you have like
but they're not created by a massive American brand.
Well, that's what I mean, and I think that's
it's the lawyer side of it.
Because like you can say that, but like you see it with like the smaller guns and how they can't look like Megatron, like the like Evan was saying in one of the episodes where they were going to do a small one. Was it Evan or was it Brian when we had Brian Parrish on?
Oh, I think it was Evan. There was a conversation. They did talk about. Did they talk about doing something? Didn't they? There was a way that they looked at doing something and having it as a gun, and the lawyer side of it. And that
they had one. They were going to do another like legend size one because I've still got the legend. That's the last one they did. But even that had the orange safety tip, and I think it's like. I think in the modern landscape, you can't get away with stuff like that. Like,
well, I think that was kind of my point. Is that I think regardless of whether it's like legal or illegal or not, like clearly your legal team is not going to let you release something like that, and that's the point. And there's an element to which if they release something like that is a realistic looking gun, and there's a problem of any kind, clearly Hasbro is not going to want that kind of heat.
That's it.
It's obvious.
Do you know, this sounds... Bear with me on this one. I always remember in Die Hard why Agent Al Powell isn't on the streets anymore. He's got a desk job. Because the whole story is that there's a kid who's got a toy gun and he shoots the kid, right? And it's it's horrible, right? But that happened when we were growing up, right? Mm-hmm. I remember those stories coming from the United States. And
it still happens now.
It does.
It does happen.
And I'm like... And the whole thing that like, okay, you can have this gun, but we need to put a big orange tube superglued inside it, and it just gets a bit ridiculous in my mind. All for the sake that we want this gun as this character, and that's where I start. That's where I start losing the interest in this here as well, because I actually don't care that much. I'd much rather that policemen, women, and kids were safe and they didn't have to go through that. So, and that's the political side of it, right? Yeah. That's what Hasbro are doing from a risk point of view. Ultimately.
That's exactly it. It's risk is the thing. Risk is the right word because it's too high risk. It's not. There are lots of people still saying of course they could do it if they did it this way, but it's all about risk, and Hasbro don't want that risk. No. It's that simple, and that is surely understandable to anybody why they don't want that as well.
Just imagine,
I think the way to think of it as well is Hasbro are a massive company that really like money. Over all things, they
really like money.
They do really like money. They are the epitome of capitalism.
If they could get away with this properly with thing, and if they aren't doing it, then there's probably a real reason.
There's a reason.
They've done the user testing,
refraining from making money
Yeah, because it would sell. It would sell, I think, if it was.
But Hutua though as well. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Because would it sell to like parents?
But it would be
now?
to the collectors. I think.
Well, that's it.
I think there are two separate debates here. Like what you're saying, Jason, is right. Like in general for Megatron any other area, but if you're making a G1 Megatron based on a film or the cartoon, specifically going, it's that thing. But
isn't that the masterpiece though? Isn't that?
It is, but that's what they're doing with this as well, though, aren't they? This is the Studio Series 86.
But I think
the branding on the box is Transformers the movie, and when they promote it, they always sell it with it's like this scene from the movie, and that's what they will do.
You're right that you paint themselves into the corner. You're totally right.
This is the debate you end up in here, is that when you're specifically targeting people like this now, and it's no longer just a kid's toy of a character with new stuff, it's very targeted as I'm selling you this thing specifically, and it's not that. Mm-hmm. That's when I think people I don't agree with it, because I like Megatron as a tank. I'm happy, and I have Masterpiece Megatron as a gun, a G1 Megatron as a gun. Those are enough guns. But I think this isn't to sell to children. I don't think this is a toy for kids either. These are nostalgia toys for us.
I get that argument. I would push back on that slightly, because I don't think they're making Studio Series specifically for children, although I do think that is also...
There will be children who get them.
They're always in Smiths. They're in Smiths, and they get picked up a lot.
That is always my point.
Yeah.
They are in Smiths. They are on retail toy aisles next to other Transformers products. They are sold there.
But so are a lot of collector-focused toys that aren't...
No, sure. But if you put out a real gun in this line... It
would never get into a shop.
Well, but that's the point, is that the line does sit in that weird space where, although it is collector orientated and targeted at collectors, it still is owned by children as well. Like it ultimately is. Yeah. And you can't completely divorce that aspect of it. I mean, I saw people even saying, couldn't they do it as a HasLab? You've got to be whatever age you've got to be to own a HasLab. And I think they have T's and C's in there, so couldn't they do it that way? And then they can kind of ensure that it's only for adults.
On that, though? HasLab, we're selling you a replica gun.
God,
you know what I mean? And
it's not a good look, is it?
But that's right. So that's exactly what I was trying to say. That's that they have painted themselves into this corner where they have a toy line that is going to be in toy shops, but at the same time, like the messaging is, when they are designing it, they are designing it with adults in mind, like with this character, and so you kind of have this awkward.
It is awkward
place for a character like this, and it's interesting with Megatron because I can't think of another character from anything like this that falls into this weird kind of hinterland now, where there's this constant argument that ends up happening repeatedly over years.
You will never ever make everybody happy with whatever you do. That's the reality. Because the other option, of course, was that they just didn't make a Megatron, and some people would have preferred that. Some people would have actually preferred that they didn't, because they're like, well, it's it shouldn't be a tank. It's never been a tank, in Generation 1 and all of this. Don't make it. But at the same time, as you said, Hasbro likes making money, and they know that they have a popular character here, and they're going to make it, and people will buy it. And the world will keep turning, I think, is the point,
Exactly.
And this will come up again next time they do a G1 style Megatron, because they will always do G1 style Megatrons, and it's like, for me personally, fine with the tank.
But same.
I cannot understand why, when they are branding it in a very targeted way, that you will get people who have certain collector mentalities who will be like, it doesn't really fly with them.
To be honest, more than that, I get why people want it to be a gun as well. Like, all concerns aside or whatever, I actually do like toy guns. Like, obviously, for my own collection. We talked about this before, and I said that there is a little bit of hypocrisy.
The Punisher Sixo coming.
He's got his gun case behind him.
Sixo Castle.
I'm secretly exceptionally right wing. That's what you don't know about me. I'm like a real gun toting.
You hate it toy
lives matter.
Exactly. But no, the thing is, there is a bit of hypocrisy here, and I'm happy to say that on my part, because I like collecting toy guns, gun robo. I have lots of them, but equally, it's not something that I would give to my boy. Do you know what I mean? And I do think that the world has kind of moved on a little bit in that regard. And there's a bit of disconnect there, and I'm happy to kind of admit that and what have you. And it is a weird area. I'm not saying that I've got all the right answers for it.
But I have interest though for you, Sixo. Isn't it? So what is that? Is the interest in the fact that you've got this, like the micro change? So this, it's the robot in disguise. It's an everyday object, that type of thing, and the mechanics of the, the fact that you can change that everyday item into a robot, or
a little bit of that. I do think there is something intriguing about toy guns, but more specifically toy guns of the era, because I think it's an interesting bit of history. It comes from a point in Japan where, and still now, there are very different rules around toy guns and things. I mean, you can get toy guns or replica guns quite freely in Japan. Like, it is a thing.
Totally. Yeah.
And that's why you're able to also get like collector-orientated pieces like MP36 as well, because people always bring that up and they're like, oh, but, you can get the masterpiece. And it's like, because it's sold domestically in Japan for collectors, it's Japan, where it's not the same laws as the US or the UK.
And do you remember the fuss when that toy came out? Like,
it was a big fuss.
There were some people gluing in orange tabs, but it was a huge thing at the time. Like, people were trying to find out. There were retailers saying they don't know. Some were saying they had to stick the purple barrel on. Some people weren't.
For sure.
Some places couldn't sell it. It was
a big thing. But there is this long history with Japan and kind of gun robo and everything. And I think that to me that's the interesting bit in terms of, to answer your question, to that sort of like those transforming toys, is the history of it. And to be honest, a modern toy turning into a gun doesn't have the same appeal necessarily. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't bother me at all that this doesn't turn into a gun. I'm not like, I don't need it to. I'm not really interested in that. I actually probably prefer it as a tank. I think that's also interesting. But there is just that little bit of history from the point where the sort of two worlds met, if you like, and guns were this thing that were more prevalent, such that they became children's toys. Like, I find that a bit weird. But I still find it weird in a kind of interesting way, even though I also find guns incredibly sinister, and I think that's the sort of the weirdness of them that just sort of makes the whole thing intriguing. It
is really intriguing, because the thing is as well that I've been going to toy shops all my life. Started out as a child, continued going to toy shops as an older child, and just in the shelves in the UK, how toy guns, when I was a kid, there was cap firing guns, there was there was lots of different ones you could get.
Super
the only
realistic.
Guns I see in your retail stores now are Nerf guns that are so wildly kind of designed, bright yellows, bright oranges.
Also insanely popular.
Massively popular, like huge amount of space put onto shelves for them as well. But you don't see the kind of more realistic ones, like the kind of the Western style guns and all that kind of stuff anymore. They just don't sell.
They're not allowed to sell them. But with guns, I think there's another facet as well. It's like, I know none of us like guns, and we'll say like this sort of thing about toys. You'll be like, there's a fascination with this or that. But it's also every piece of media we consume around this revolves around characters with guns shooting each other. Like, you think of Star Wars, like we all love Star Wars, and 99% of it is people shooting each other. Transformers, almost every franchise from our childhoods, and that's why guns are so prevalent in
not
toys,
micro machines.
Exactly, but like almost like you think of all the Marvel films and stuff like that. It's people shooting at each other. Like it's not necessarily. Yeah, but everything was like. All the 80s things were like that. The 90s things were like that. It's less prevalent now, but still, the major franchises, like, you're still like, oh, that's so cool. And it's like freaking stormtroopers and Jedis squaring off with laser swords and guns and things. And it's like, tanks and spaceships shooting at each other. And it's still the same thing. And that's like fun. I think that's fundamental to the core of the stuff we love. It's not that we love the guns. They're always in stuff. And it's like, the emotion of the stories are centered around conflicts.
It's true.
And the conflict manifests in people shooting at each other. And so they make the characters look cool. So that's what you kind of almost aspire to. Not aspire to what guns.
I completely think there's something to that. And I'm
like
sure...
smoking, isn't it? People used to smoke because they thought it was cool. I was actually
just going to say exactly that. And the psychology of smoking has changed so much. I mean, when we were growing up, smoking was perceived as being cool, and a lot of that was because of the adverts at the time, films at the time, all of that. And because I read a really interesting thing about it, talking about how the irony of smoking was that, it was promoted to show off that men were all strong and big and beefy because they're smoking, and women were all kind of sexy and, elegant and all of this. Whereas actually the reality was that for men, if you smoke, then you're not going to be as strong because it damages your health, and women, you're not going to be all that elegant because it stinks. It's like actually the opposite is kind of true, but they marketed it so successfully that people really truly felt that this was the case. And I do think there's an element of that with guns as well, that they've been very cleverly marketed in that way.
Do you know the outlier to this, which I always love, is Lego? And because the founder of Lego,
do you get Lego guns?
No, you do now. But the founder of Lego, old Kurt Christensen, was a pacifist, and so the early influences of Lego, there was no green blocks, there was no the green because of the association with military vehicles, but also didn't include, because I remember when I was growing up that me and my brother had these little kind of things that looked like guns, and we put them in the hands, but they weren't. And it was only until we started getting Star Wars figures and stuff like that then the actual guns started appearing.
When they decided they really liked money too.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day, actually, the gun thing. I was like, it's like you think of even like characters who are famous for not using guns, say Batman, and then you think the most iconic Batman film is the one where he has a car with pop-up machine guns and a jet with pop-up.
He also
machine
uses
guns.
Extreme violence.
But that's what I mean. Like the Batmobile from the 1989 Batman film is the most iconic.
It's true.
Batman vehicle and the Bat vehicle, and it's the one with massive machine guns on it, and it's that kind of like.
Well,
when you look at that, you still
get
look at
to
it.
the Snyder film when he's flipping using a gun, and I was watching that.
Yeah,
what
totally.
is this?
That's
like,
what's going on.
Batman,
Yeah,
come on.
I know.
But that's what I mean. It's like so much of our media is like enforcing on us that like guns are what the cool guys have, and it's like when Sixo, you will know this because whenever we take photos of toys, when you go to do a cool pose, it's usually of them like holding a gun,
with the gun
in a certain type of way. It's just
I did that with Missing Link Bumblebee, and it worked. Yeah,
it's kind of almost like the unseen, insidious nature of guns. Really, is like we've been conditioned to think they are cool.
But the thing is, you're right, Liam, in what you're saying is that a lot of the stuff that we were growing up with, and where a lot of our media was coming from at the time, was from the US. And I remember
it's all Vietnam based.
Exactly. Vietnam. It's all these directors telling their Vietnam story. And that's where it was coming from. And then it was in the TV shows and stuff like that as well. And the thing is, when you boil down like a lot of kind of Hollywood movies, they all end with the Western style shootout. That's what they do. And once you know that, you see it in every single film that comes out of Hollywood. And it could be a massive big hulking guy fighting another big hulking guy, but there'll be a point where the good guy shoots the bad guy. Yeah. That's it, And it's just there. It's repeat as well. So it's just part and parcel of what we've grown up with. But interestingly now, like my son has never... We did play Nerf guns once when we played at a place. Shot me right between the eyes. He's a very good shot.
Who would shoot you between the eyes, Jason?
I'm a pacifist as well. I was just being a pacifist.
Flashbacks to
with a foam dart,
No, exactly. That's PTSD. That was sore.
James Bond is another one. Like,
exactly.
He is like the male ideal. Of course, that's the way they package him. It's always like that, and he's so part and parcel with guns. Me
and my son are watching New Hope, and we just watched Empire. Han Solo's gun, like that is such an iconic gun. And I remember actually, Sixo, when you were talking about it there, when I was in Japan, the shops that I was going into and the replica guns, you could get like incredible. A Glock whatever, and they looked like so real. And these were just in stores, right? And you could get them, and you could build them, or you could buy them built or whatever. And it was just part of it, right? So that's like you're saying, the history of it.
I totally agree with that. I think if people are going to enter this debate, I think they need to fundamentally understand how different Japan is to America in terms of guns and everything else. If you're going to seriously enter this debate and start flinging around like, well, they made a masterpiece, then you need to understand that key difference there. It's like fundamentally a very different thing.
It's that thing is because we live in global times, people assume everywhere is the same now. Right. It's like Japan. A lot of these cultures are still extremely different from our own. It's
hugely different.
Japan is massively different.
It is a fascinating thing, though, and I do think that it's what you said, Liam, that all of this whole debate, which we're not going to settle tonight. I mean, make no mistake, because it's too big, even for us. But it's. It is fascinating because it does all lead to this point where, as you say, Hasbro if anything, have kind of backed themselves into a corner a little bit because they're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Can't win.
They cannot win. It is a no-win in many ways. Like, you're not going to keep everybody happy. And as you said, I kind of am sympathetic to the people that are like, this is not exactly what they wanted or whatever. But for better or for worse, just to bring us back to Megatron, I do kind of think that they've found a good solution with it. I mean, when it was first touted, we're going to make him a tank, and Evan sort of announced this, I don't think anybody could have predicted that the robot mode would look as good as it does turning into a tank, right? Like
Harry Potter Dark Arts going on here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to transform it.
I can figure out how it transforms, but my brain still can't process that there's a tank there. And I know people will say the tank doesn't look like a real tank, but it's like, it's an amazing looking tank compared to some of the other tanks they've done over the years. Like the siege tank. You're like, this looks way better than that. And
it's way better than the siege tank. I mean, firstly, other than like obviously the little gun barrel thing and all of that, it's fairly cohesive. Like I don't mind on tanks and things if you've got to like take the barrel off and turn it into a cannon or something like that. That doesn't bother me. I don't really consider that parts forming in the same way. Like if you're going to transform Megatron in any way, typically something comes off, right?
Yeah.
But I think what really stood out with the Earthrise one was that you have that huge, great big panel in the back that you need to add on to kind of complete the back of the tank mode. And then he's got a huge, it's sort of like a sword thing, but like the whole front of the tank comes off.
It was a bit ridiculous, wasn't it?
Here's the sword. He has the sword from the original toy, but it's kind of like a weird mechanism. And it's like, I appreciate what they were going for, but it never quite worked.
It was a bit clumsy, to say the least.
This, honestly, man, like
so much better.
It just, I think they've done the absolute best they could. And
I agree.
It's amazing. Like, as a totally separate thing, like as a Megatron, it's wonderful. It's amazing. With all the other baggage and stuff, there are valid points going around, but just as a toy, it just looks great. Really does.
Do you know the tank mode gives me? Do you know when it's a Mark 7 tank, which was in Indiana Jones, the one where Indy's is when his dad's in. Is it the one with his dad inside? Actually,
there's 6 other Marks there.
Well, exactly.
It's Mark Clonus, one of them.
You know, when Indy's basically, there's some German style tank that is basically that he's trying to blow up, and it has that kind of vibe to it for me, because the kind of turret is pushed forward, and there's quite a lot of the back.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of the back.
Yeah, so and I quite like that kind of slightly asymmetrical bit that you get on the side look.
Yeah,
it just
I really think it works. It's got. I mean, I really like the Robocen tank when they did that Megatron. You know,
that was great.
Yeah, that was a really good tank mode for Megatron, because equally what I think it does is it crosses into this sort of like, it looks fairly believable as an earthen tank. It's not like, it's not bullshit. Like it's not kind of a made up thing, although it is, but it looks real enough that you could kind of convince yourself that it is like a real model tank, And it looks really cohesive, I think, as well. Like, obviously you've got his shins on the back there, and there's a bit of stuff that you can kind of see, but I honestly think, considering that everything it needs to do, I think it's pretty great. The one compromise I think actually the tank mode does have is when the whole turret turns. Have you seen a picture of this?
Yeah.
Have I? I don't know if I have, actually.
Yeah,
does it turn at a weird pivot point?
It swivels at the back, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, okay. I did wonder about that. That kind of, so I'm seeing it. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
so that's a little bit
slightly odd.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. It's a compromise. Yes. It's a compromise, but it's not.
But to
the end
get
of the world.
that robot mode, if that's what you've got to compromise,
exactly.
With,
yeah.
Like that's what people are wanting more than anything. Because chances are, most of the people buying this are going to transform it once at most, and then it will live on a shelf. And this is what its life is. Like my curiosity here is the badge. Why did they choose like the white outline?
That's really funny, because I noticed that as well. Totally.
It looks like, it's not a sticker, but it just kind of looks like it. Like, I like it. I think it looks fine.
It's like the toy, isn't it? They've suddenly got cartoon toy.
yeah. Because you look at Prime, he's still got the white outline.
He's got the white outline, yeah.
And so you like,
it's true.
For Megatron, they've changed something.
Yeah, because Starscream doesn't have the white outline on his wings.
No. A lot of them just have the purple badge, don't they? Like the cartoon. But here they've outlined it in white.
It looks good though, but yes, it is a sort of slightly inconsistent choice. It is a bit of a weird one. But you are right. I mean, for most people, they might transform it a couple of times or whatever. And that is the other thing here is, not to kind of get back to the whole gun debate. But realistically, because it also comes with the accessory, even though the accessory looks a little bit duff, in my opinion, you can just leave it in robot mode forevermore and then use the gun accessory as his gun mode, right?
Pretend. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it scales with all the other stuff as well.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, you don't have to lose sleep about this stuff, realistically, if you don't want to.
No.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
If you don't want
that
to.
easy.
You can if you want.
You can.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
You can lose sleep if you really want to, and I think some people do, but you don't have to. I think is the point.
Look, I for me that tank mode, and because it is the tank in Raiders. Sorry, not in Raiders, in Last Crusade. That's given me vibes there as well, and. I'm quite into, as I said earlier on, I'm quite into a tank mode for Megatron. I've got used to that. I've got multiple different versions of it as well. A lot of fun with the tank mode. More play value, right? I can totally imagine that with my son, Optimus Prime, tank, Megatron, that's just great, isn't it? That's kind of ideal.
I think for a lot of people, tank makes more sense. Certainly the younger crowd, lot of not everybody exclusively, but a lot of the younger crowd. I do sometimes think that it is kind of like, forgive me for generalizing here, but like older men that are particularly upset about the gun thing. I think that's
probably fair.
Yeah. You know, I'm generalizing here, but that does seem to be the trend that I'm noticing a little bit, it's fair to say. Whereas a lot of the younger crowd are less bothered by it and actually prefer him as a tank. I think a lot of them think the gun is a bit silly.
Yeah, it's where your nostalgia sits though, and that's why
so true.
A lot of people are buying this is for the nostalgia, isn't it? So I think that's where a lot of the critique, as much as I don't agree with it, because I'm very pro him being a tank, that's great. But I think that's just where that comes from.
You're just playing devil's advocate, are you, Liam?
I am.
Sitting on the fence. That's not your role.
Taking a leaf out of old
Liam's seen both
book
sides.
Here.
Yeah, totally.
But I think that's just a important thing though. Like you said that about kids and stuff, and that's right. And I think that's just because their nostalgia for Megatron is a tank or a jet or anything else. And that's what I mean. Time moves on, and Megatron moves on with that.
Yeah.
Well, just wait until we do the Titans Return episode of Megatron. You know, that's going to blow people's minds when they see what he transforms into there. So, you know,
that's our thumbnail now. He turns into what? And it'll be your face, Jason. Just like
gotta be.
I think people have done the tank mode on this a disservice as well. Like, I think it's far better than people have given it credit for. Like when you look at every side of it, it's covered in tank detail, and the chest
is. Totally.
This is one of the first ones where the chest that it still looks like G1 Megatron's properly, like it looks like the cartoon, but it folds up, and when it's in tank mode, you're like, it looks completely fine. But I tell you what, it's maybe wish we'd have got at some point G2 Megatron, like the vintage toy, but in G1 colors.
Oh man,
that's a nice idea.
I'm contemplating
about
that
this
now.
Imagine what that would have looked like.
It would have looked amazing. You know, the His Tank Megatron that they did is about as close to that as I think we've had. Let's put it that way. Like, it's not exactly G2.
Imagine a redeco though. Like, if they'd have bought that back in like Machine Wars or something like that, where they would redeco in or RID, and instead of it being like bludgeon, it done it in grey.
It's a shame that the G2 Megatron toy only ever got the one repaint, and it was basically just the same, but with like olive green instead of purple. Like, it's and a bit of JD Vance eyeliner. Like, that's literally, it's the only difference. But it's still cool. I mean, I have it, but even that was a bit of a push to have both versions.
You weren't showing enough gratitude there, Sixo.
Exactly. I haven't even said thank you. But I think that that is a great idea. That would look amazing. But well, it is truly one of the great Megatron tanks. But you're right. The more I look at this thing, the more I notice little details about it that I absolutely love. I mean, the fact that the chest becomes the front of the tank, I think, is so clever. Again, I think the fact that the treads fold up to become kind of the faux gun grip, as it were, for the legs, I think is amazing.
They've compromised, but they haven't half-assed it. And those are two different things I don't think people sometimes appreciate. Like, they've gone 100%. All out to get as much detail and to make as good a tank mode as they can from that robot. And I think they've done really well.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. Considering that people thought it was going to be a Fallen retool, right? Like, definitely not that.
Very different beast. Yeah,
like, look how clean the sides are. Like, that's really rare. Like, that's so clean. It's not a H tank.
Amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
It's great.
Amazing thing. But the other thing with this, of course, was the whole malarkey, the whole situation. Let's say situation around it sort of being leaked and all of this gubbins, wasn't it? It was quite funny. I think
it was just got surreal. It was just weird.
Gone worse than a footballer's baby's gender reveal party, isn't it?
It was just it was a bit obnoxious, I thought, because they started like teasing pictures. The leakers started like teasing pictures of this thing.
There's an arm.
That's what it was, breaking out of a box, a tissue box or something. It was very weird.
Which is all right. I give them props. It's fun, right? They were having some fun with it. But then I understand that the leaker, like I don't know what you call them, but the facilitator, the person with the stolen toy, sort of stepped in and said,
brilliant.
"Stop sending pictures," didn't they? They sort of put the kibosh on it because I think they were worried about, I don't know, getting a bit
I don't really
know that
the Takara police.
But no, it wasn't even because someone said, "Oh, Hasbro stepped in," and I don't think they had at all. I think it was the leaker was saying to the people with the toy in hand, "You've got to stop posting pictures of it now." Weirdly, like, I know you've paid a fortune for this, but stop sending pictures. I don't know.
I was amazed that Hasbro did the live stream the other day as well. After this, all these pictures are out there, and did not announce the toy. Like,
that was very surreal. That was weird. Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think those live streams are planned in advance, and you know they keep on schedule. Basically, like they know what they're dropping at which point, and it's sort of planned quite far in advance as well. And I think they just stick to that. I think is the thing.
We had this conversation with Maz back in the day with leakers, and I'm less bothered about it than a lot of people. Like, I'm not a fan of it, but it doesn't really fuss me that much. But it just seems odd that in this day and age that they will have known something like this would leak this far in advance, though, and they've still kept it behind for this long. And I feel like this is the kind of toy where they probably should have got it out earlier and gone, this one we need to make sure we are ahead of, because if they'd have dropped this, like, the excitement would have been through the roof. Like, even I will concede that. I'd be like, no, if they'd have just out of nowhere beat everyone to the punch, like, it would have blown the Transformers internet.
I do, completely.
Drip feeding out in bits, you were kind of like, by the time it came out, you're like, whoa, it looks amazing. But I've seen little bits of it already.
Yeah, I think the fact as well,
jigsaw.
The fact that Takara have revealed their own official pictures of it, but still nothing from Hasbro is kind of also wild. Like, why? What are we doing here? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit of a weird
Takara.
one.
There is quite a lot going on at Hasbro, I suppose.
Charming Takara.
Yeah, it is. I'm not a massive fan of leaks across anything, right? Because it just spoils it for people, and it's a bit of a shame. And normally the images that we get, not that I look for them, I might stumble across a few now, but they're normally pretty rubbish as well. And it's just not how I want to. You're totally right, Liam. It would have been really nice if they've just like mic dropped it in a kind of normal, whether it's a stream or a show or something like that, and then that's it, you know. But in the day that we live in now, this whole idea of like marketing something over a staged amount of time just isn't possible anymore.
No, it's a different world.
It is
completely different world. I think the thing with the leaks and stuff, I mean, I have opinions on it. We have talked about it before. I think what makes me laugh a little bit is when people are like, sort of, how to put it, they almost treat the leakers like heroes, you know, that they're like on the side of the fans, you know, because they're giving the fans what they want. And I'm like, yeah, but then these same folks are then turning around and charging fans $1,400 for the privilege of buying this stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what people are paying. Yeah,
really?
Did you not see that? That's the bit I did see.
Look at the eBay sold listings of this thing. It is incredible. I didn't even know it had
been on eBay. I just assumed it went through the dodgy back channels of Shanghai or something.
Yeah, right. I checked out of like pure curiosity. I was like, I'm sure this thing's on eBay, and looked under sold listings, and lo and behold, there was like 7 or 8 of them, and it varies in price. Some of them were like on the cheaper end, you know, they were like 700 or 800 or something, but it was up to like $1,400 was the most expensive, I think, when I looked anyway. And so you can't really tell me.
Were you tempted?
No, not even.
No,
something that in a few
halfway
months' time,
to Grand Max, you know,
in a few months' time will cost me 55. Do you know what I mean? Like, absolutely not.
Who wants a toy that?
Yeah,
much?
I do wonder. Yeah, who wants it that bad? And
are they YouTube doing types? I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Are they doing it for their own?
But there is no amount
channels?
of YouTube remuneration, whatever, that you can get that would cover that price. Like, there's no video that you could publish that is going to get that many views that would make up for over $1,000 or whatever it is. Like,
absolutely.
It's just not going to happen.
No, but maybe it's a investment in attracting followers, isn't it? Something like that is going to bring a lot of people. I suppose that's how they view it.
But even then, that's not going to bring you a return, is it? I don't know.
Well, no, not an instant return, but I imagine it will grow your channel.
Long, I suppose, yeah.
It's like adding steroids to your channel growth, isn't it? For a moment.
Going back to what you said, Sixo, about the leakers and about why people do this, is it the kind of glory about the fact it's like, I'm the first person to tell people about this, so there's that kind of adrenaline.
There's a bit of clout. There's clout.
Yeah. Definitely. So then also going and spending that money and having that thing before other people is potentially a thing as well.
Yeah.
There's the psychology of it's interesting.
It really is. I just think it's funny when people sort of put these leaguer people on a sort of pedestal almost, and it's like, you can't tell me they're on the side of fans when they're charging fans.
I know. Oh my goodness,
hand over fist for this stuff, like exorbitant prices for the privilege of owning it, like months before everybody else can get it at retail. That's not fan service at all. Like, come
no,
on,
it's not.
Let's not kid ourselves here. It's all a bit shady and horrible.
I miss when it was the stuff like the Binaltech like prototypes showing up on eBay, because that felt like the internet felt smaller then, but it felt kind of more fun, like you were peeking behind the curtain. Whereas this, I think now the way things are revealed and they come out and stuff now, it feels a lot more kind of in your face. It's not like you are going, "Ooh, this is a thing. This is exciting. It's a mystery," or anything like that. Now it's like, nope, I know exactly what that is, and now I've seen it and can move on.
Yeah, it's like, surprise. No, it wasn't a surprise. I knew exactly what that was.
It's also in your face and just a bit overt, isn't it? And I just find it a little bit crass as well. There's something about it. I don't know. Like, I get it. People want to see the toy. What does it matter who shares the pictures? They get to see the toy. They're happy. It's kind of is what it is. No harm done, I guess. And that's sort of some people's perspective. I don't know. The whole thing leaves me with a little bit of a weird taste, I think. Do you know what I mean? It's regardless, I don't know the ins and outs of how all this goes down or what have you. I just every bit of information that kind of comes out about it, it never seems to be a good situation. Do you know what I mean? So
it's very exploitative, though. They're exploiting demand, aren't they? And as much they're exploiting demand from people in the kind of world we live in now, where it's a demand for clicks and content. That kind of like, so they know something like this is so big that it will generate whoever gets it first, but an intense kind of reaction of people will follow them very fast or be clicking their stuff and sharing their stuff, and it gets the name out there. It is just putting turbo boosters on your engagements and stuff. But as a fandom and stuff, like I said before, it's like I'm very ambivalent to this stuff. Like, I saw it and I've seen it now, and I'm like, it's fine. I'm very excited for it anyway. I would have, I feel for the people at Hasbro that we know that have missed out on a chance to showcase their work. And I think maybe for you as well, Sixo, because I think we have that perspective now more than we did before. So I think maybe you feel a bit closer to it in some way.
That's
disappointing for the people whose work's been kind of undermined here.
Because yes, definitely
there's people who put out stuff as well, like. You
definitely care more on the basis of knowing those people.
States, don't you know what I mean? Like that, you kind of want to lead with something strong, and I think they're like showing it off. It's I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's not that fussed personally. But I get it for the. I feel bad for the people who's put in all that work and effort at plans, and it's been.
Yeah, I said something. I said something about this a while ago, and of course, I got the predictable reaction from someone calling me, a Hasbro shill or whatever, and it's always like
selling yourself.
What else? Yeah, but the thing is, I think the difference to me is you're right. Previously, I wouldn't have cared as much, probably. Do you know what I mean? But the difference is knowing the people involved and being friendly with them. I mean, for God's sake, we've been for a lovely fish and chip supper with Evan. Do you know what I mean? So then knowing that this is his work and that it sort of then get plastered out in a way that I know he would not appreciate is it does add a new dimension to it. So Hasbro as a corporate entity I've got no love for, but when you know the people at that level that are involved and whatever else, then it's a different prospect, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like, imagine someone took your work and put it out before you were ready to show it off. Like something you've put a lot of time and effort into, and you're really proud of it, and then somebody's taking it and just showing it off in bits and bobs, and they're profiting from that. There's a kind of like
it's the profiting thing,
yeah. There's a lot of that, and I think it goes back to what Jason said a few minutes ago when he said you can't reveal stuff over a long time anymore, and that's exactly right. And it's the culture we have now is people just want stuff now. They just want to see it, and that includes all of us. It's not just like some people. It is just everyone. That's just the way I think our brains are, because you log into social media and you're just looking at all the new stuff, and we're conditioned to that now, aren't we? And I think there's like a fervor for it. People want to see the latest thing and then move on to something else.
Yep. And it's across all media as well. It's not just in the toy world, but, think of computer games, think of films, all this stuff as well. And, I went through this on a personal level. I've got tons of friends that work in film and animation, and the whole piracy part of film and media, that did genuinely affect people that I know's jobs. It's like, and this stuff does have an impact. It can have an impact as well. And we're all in that desire to kind of grab this stuff and see it and all this kind of thing. But when we talk to Evan, this is like they're planning 2 years minimum ahead, aren't they? That's what they're doing, right? So there's a ton of people behind this that are kind of moving it all forward. So I think that's why I don't really engage with the leaks and all that kind of stuff, because I know the pictures aren't going to be really that interesting for what I want to see, and also I know it affects real people.
Yeah.
Really.
That's the thing. Even it's very easy to kind of dismiss it as like some sort of corporate entity. And Hasbro is exactly that. Do you know what I mean? And again, I've got no love for the corporate side of things at all, but there are still people within that machine who are doing good work. Do you know what I mean? And that deserve a bit of respect.
I love it.
And
they love it. They're trying to do the right thing for the fans. God. And,
people like Mark and Evan are just absolute gems, and
totally.
put their everything they have into this kind of stuff. So, yeah, it does make me feel a little bit sad from that perspective.
It does. I wonder if it does make the case, though, for them to maybe, I don't know, we hate waiting for stuff, but start revealing stuff a little bit faster here, because stuff like this, because it's happening so often now with every toy they're being shown off first, and it's like maybe it's just the only way they're going to get around it is by starting to show stuff off earlier than they maybe wanted to, because they're in production in factories, so they exist now. There's not really a need to, and they're going to sell regardless. There's not really the need to hold on to some later date.
You could just show it off, let people in behind the curtain a little bit almost, and just kind of make it part of the process, even if it's not finalized.
But this is then getting into the corporate machine, isn't it? This is getting into like, okay, we've got this in Q1, we've got this in Q2, we're going to be doing that, and it's all this planning, and it's unfortunately not as simple as going, oh, let's just do Megatron now. You know?
No, it is a huge thing, and I think that is something that certainly I certainly didn't appreciate when I got a small peek behind the window with the one fan stream I was on. It was surprising how big an operation it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You sort of think, oh, they could just whip out a toy and talk about it, but it's clearly not how it's done. Do you know what I mean? For better or for worse.
Again, though, it's maybe that thing of maybe recognizing sort of the way they are targeting collectors, and that the kind of mentality people have in fandoms of wanting to see everything, and they are going to be out there looking to get to see stuff as soon as possible. So it's maybe there's that kind of recognition of, look, people are going to be desperately trying to get hold of stuff early. We clearly cannot keep it under wraps. The only solution is we have to go on the front foot here. And because like if they'd have just put, say, out like sort of photos that we do, and they have their own people doing like just one of Megatron as robot mode, they don't even have to reveal the full toy. Just have a photo like that, just put it out early, and then whatever leaks come, it's fine, because they've already had their moment of, this is coming, guys.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, just literally just one photo would do it. Or they could just send it to us. I don't know. We could do it for them, couldn't we? Yeah, we'd be right at that.
We can become Hasbro shills.
Exactly. That's the problem. Is that then you're a Hasbro shill. What can you do?
I'm gladly just send it over Hasbro. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, you are a Hasbro shill, Jason.
Absolutely, 100. I have been ever since I was born.
Yeah.
I was born.
I
was in a Hasbro box. Hello.
Friends. But it is a funny one. I mean, I think you're right though, Liam, and the fact that when Takara just put out a silhouette teaser where you could kind of see the details of this thing.
Yeah.
But there had already been a couple of teasers of it. But it was funny because that was the one that actually everybody started sharing, going, "Oh my God, look at this, you know." And that was the one that people got really excited about. And I'm not going to lie, I did think it was funny that this whole kind of leak machine that was kind of, you know, getting into overdrive at this point to get this thing out, and then Takara just went, "Here you go, silhouette teaser." Lols.
Like, exactly.
Brilliant.
Shut it down.
Oh, it was so
it was
funny.
Good.
My sweet, lovely Takara.
And it does have that vibe of like they weren't even in the fight. Do you know what I mean? They were just sort of sat on the sidelines and they were just like, put this out, I guess.
Yeah. It's brilliant. It was the intern. Yeah.
All of these companies I think they are so far behind the kind of the fandoms and stuff that they are now selling directly to and targeting. They haven't quite caught on, like, as to the further they have for their products beyond. They think, hey, we can sell them stuff, but it's like, but if you also want to get it out with the biggest amount possible, you need to do it fast.
But this is exactly what I was on about, which is like now you're getting into a rumbling machine of like there's this huge corporation where that person needs to sign off that, and that person needs to sign off that, and that person, and it becomes this whole like all these different. I like imagine. I'd be really interesting. We need to get Evan back on. How many people were involved? All in at Hasbro for just Megatron.
We should ask him.
That will be massive, right? That'd be such a massive group of people across
marketing,
marketing, finance, designers, marketing. You know, everything, right?
Yeah.
It's huge. You know, and that's just for one figure.
But I do kind of agree with Liam though that I do think that there's an element of pragmatism with all of this that
it's the reality
has to happen. Yeah, exactly. Just reality of like this thing's gonna leak if we don't get, you know, we don't beat them to the punch, you know. And I do think that there is. I don't think they need to be showing stuff off when it's not ready or whatever. But I think there's an element of they could bring it forward, bring the whole cycle forward, and show it off much sooner. Maybe. I mean, look, I'm just guessing, but it would be something to do. I think, even if stuff's not quite finalized or whatever, just show it off, you know. But I think they also like to have. They've got that kind of cycle where it's nearer to pre-orders and this kind of stuff sometimes. So who's to say, honestly?
And that's the thing. Like once it's gone to the factory, which is where all the leaks come from, it's once the toys go into production. It's like, I know they like to have the long lead time, but it's like once you're locked in and everything's done there, that's clearly your window to get ahead of everyone. Like you've got everything done.
It's out the factory,
I get that there's a machine that has to rumble, but clearly it's rumbling far too slow
to the machine,
and there's no other way they're going to solve this problem unless they don't view it as a problem. Like if they don't care.
Well, that's the other thing I thought is like, do they? Because there's plenty of stories where companies are quite happy for leaks. They're quite happy for the fandom to do a part of this, like in inverted commas, marketing. You know,
it is. That's exactly what it's doing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's building up all that conversation, all that kind of stuff. But what they need to do, they should just set up a live feed from the manufacturing plant, so we can literally just see the toys come off the end of the conveyor belt, because that's how it works. Obviously, they just drop out the end, don't they? You know, so we could just watch that all the time.
I mean, look, it is a fascinating one, and I don't think, in recent memory, I don't think there's another toy that is so perfectly encapsulated everything that is a sort of talking point in this fandom, right? Like from the alternative, well, even from like before it was a thing, just when it was being mooted as like, what if they do a Studio Series Megatron, right? Like even years ago when it started being talked about, it was the speculation, all of that. That was like lighting up internet traffic, all talking about it. Then the whole alt mode discussion, Evan's whole thing of like saying, well, if we do one, this is how we do it. And then people being like, oh my God, like, you know, it's not a gun, life is over. And that whole thing. Then the leaks. It's just, there's so much to this toy. It's been such a saga, and it's still not even up for pre-order yet. Like, that's the main thing. It's just totally. What a wild ride from start to finish with this thing. No?
Because it's not even on tfsource.com. I checked.
Well,
there
you go.
You know,
it's our sponsor.
Exactly.
Oh, smooth.
I thought.
Do you like how I did that? Yeah. look, I think that's probably going to about do it for Megatron tonight. It's we've been round the houses a little bit with this discussion, though, right, chaps? There've been a few stones unturned.
Good one. It's Megatron. He always brings it, doesn't he?
Yeah,
you know?
I feel like there's still more that you could say on this one, because I do think, as I say, it's kind of a fascinating toy and what it represents and whatever else. But man, it's going to continue to be interesting all the way up to and beyond release. This one, I think, it's just one of those releases.
It is a very unique character and space he sits in, like, for this thing, like all of the stuff that orbits him relating to how his toys go, and the kind of just the whole thing of it, and
the whole saga. It's so true.
Mad with what it represents going forward. It's just a very interesting thing. There was only one last question I thought I'd quickly ask you, because we didn't touch on it, which is, he has a tank mode. Will he have a fudgeable gun mode?
No.
Oh, like the Skybound.
I haven't seen. No, well, no. It's always the upside down submarine, or how many times? Like every time there's a Megatron, somebody figures out a gun mode.
Someone will figure it out.
I haven't seen one yet.
Someone will do it.
It'll be the level of transformation in that. There's a lot of pivoty points from what I can see on all those pins. Someone will make it work, and they'll say it's a gun.
Any Megatron can be a gun if you want it to be a gun. Just got to hold it in your hand. Point it, and say pew pew.
Pull the legs down, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, really hold his legs and put his arm out. There we go.
Yeah.
Gun.
Yeah, gun.
That's it.
Gun exactly. Done. There you go.
Gun and done.
Gun and done.
Gun done wing.
Yeah, sure. But yes, we mentioned it before, but we do have a sponsor for the evening, and that is tssource.com. And if you enjoyed tonight's discussion and you want to get more of that and many more things, many more topics, that is all on our Patreon, isn't it, chaps? Because on there you can get, we've got 7 public episodes now. Oof. We've also got over 100 minisodes, and these are fortnightly bonus recordings that are on our Patreon. And the other weeks when we're not doing minisodes, we're doing mini-series. So it's weekly exclusive content on the old Patreon, which is really exciting. Weekly content. Look at that, man. Weekly. We do this every week, by the way. Like, we just sit and talk about Transformers and whatever else. We are that insane.
What did we do recently? We did Japanese Micromasters, didn't we?
We did Japanese Micromasters. We've done Beast Wars, Megatron. We've done Unicron. Just the topics are endless, honestly.
Yes, it's good content, and it's made me buy all the Micromasters. The Micromasters.
Jason's really buying toys like they're going out of fashion at the moment.
I know, and breaking in my hands, some of them.
But you can hear about all of that on our Patreon, so you should definitely get on there. It's at patreon.com/Triple Takeover. You can get early access to episodes such as this as well. We also have, and it's fair to say, people do mention this quite a lot to me, a particularly popping Discord as well. Liam's always pointing that out and saying how popping he thinks it is at any particular moment.
All the time.
On every channel, that's what he is.
Yeah. It's quite noticeable that you mention that quite a lot.
Yeah, it actually is.
Yeah,
it's true.
It actually is, yeah.
Just the facts, man. Just the facts.
Yeah.
Nice.
You Bruce Willis.
Or Dan Aykroyd.
Is it? No, he does it in Die Hard, doesn't he? He does the facts. Die Hard 2.
Die Hard 2.
No, it's from the thingy, isn't it? What's the TV show? And then it was a film with Dan Aykroyd. He plays a character called Joe Friday.
Sure, but he also does...
you did the line from Die Hard.
Yeah, he does just the facts, man. He says it in Die Hard 2.
But the line is the character's catchphrase from the prior film.
Oh, is that what?
Right.
No, I didn't know that.
Hang on.
I thought that was a Bruce Willis line.
It's a famous catchphrase. It's just the facts, man. Just the facts.
Yeah. But
is he picking
that's
up a
why
fax
he does
machine?
it in Die Hard.
I know it's why he does it in Die Hard, but that's what I was thinking of, and that's why I was saying why Bruce Willis.
Yeah. I went straight to Bruce Willis as well.
Yeah,
Joe Friday.
But you're right. I remember the wedding
Dragnet,
ring thing as well.
That was it. It was Dragnet.
Yes.
That little wedding ring move that he does is the ding.
Just the facts, man. It actually sparkles and it makes a little ding noise.
Yeah,
good
film. That's classic
quality
filmmaking. They knew what they were doing.
Totally.
Anyway, you can get more of this on our Patreon. The other advantage of being on the Patreon is that people get to ask us questions. Isn't that right, Jace?
Yes, indeed they do. And we have 2 questions tonight, gents. The first one is from Star Saber Fan 39, which means there are 38 previous Star Saber fans.
At least.
I would assume. Yeah, it depends if you start from 0. So
Star Saber fan minus 39 as well.
Yeah, on minus as well. That is a thing, isn't it? So thanks for the question, Star Saber fan 39. For everyone, which series of Transformers is your favorite to watch?
Cartoon wise.
So that's why I'm reading that, right? Because I was reading it a few times, but look, I'm just going to go straight in with my answer here, which is Rescue Bots, and it's purely from an emotional piece with my son, because we watched that together when he was really little, and it was really cute, and I loved it for that.
Is it that, or is it that all of the robots are friends? Because there are no enemies in that one, no non-friends.
No baddies. No baddies.
They're all good.
Pacifism. I love it. It's all good. No guns.
I think Rescue Bots is how I always imagine you think of General Transformers.
Just life. Just life. That's how I see all the world. All friends. Exactly. It's true. Liam, what are you thinking for yours?
Oh, come on, man. It's the obvious one. There's only one.
Is it?
Beast Machines.
Robots in Disguise.
Oh,
2001.
Nice. That's
nice.
Cool. Okay,
good choice. Yeah. Good choice.
Never seen
the
it.
The greatest Transformers has ever been and never be again.
Yeah, it's like the samurai pizza cats of Transformers, isn't it?
I hope you like the show. It's the best that they can do.
Very good.
That's good.
Very good.
If you could do better, they'd have left it up to you. What a theme tune.
He's off
the
now.
greatest theme tune.
So good.
We've had that in
somebody please kill that Boyd. It's that line at the start.
We've had that in the show before. We've had it. We've featured it before. Love a bit of
a heck of a fighter makes a heck of a lunch.
Oh God, I've got started now.
He's gone. He's gone. That's it. He's off.
That's my favourite Transformers cartoon. Chasing Samurai Pizza Cat. Katen Den Neyen is something like that. I can't remember how you pronounce it in Japanese. It's
brilliant. Alrighty, love it. Sixo, what about you?
This is a really tough one. I am tempted to say Beast Wars.
Yeah, you got to. That's your entry point, wasn't it? And that's your love as well. I mean, your first love.
No, I was alive before that.
Are you older? Are you older than I thought? You know,
brilliant.
Brilliant. Feel free to shave 10 years off my life.
I was giving you an opportunity to be younger than Liam. Then,
all right,
you could have grabbed it. You know,
yeah. He came into Transformers later than us, Jason.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not
only like 10
fan.
years ago.
I'm not a old school fan, not a diehard fan.
Not an OG.
Not an OG.
Like how many times you've told stories about like breaking Superion and stuff like that.
That was your entry point.
Yeah, that's your entry point. Exactly.
You met me, Jason. Like it's 40 bloody episodes we've done together. You know, if you listen to what I've been saying.
By entry point, I mean your first love. That's what I mean. Yeah.
No,
okay, fine.
I love G1.
You just go on about those beasts all the time. That's what. Yeah.
I love G1 and I love Beast Wars and I love pretty much every series of Transformers. Not all of them, but maybe Beast Wars. Just because I think people are always going to say about the animation and be like, "Oh, the animation's a bit janky or whatever," but it's just of the time. I still think it holds up well enough. Honestly, like it's not so bad that it's like it's got its classic charm to it. I think it's the thing, and I can look at it and think, this was pretty groundbreaking for the time.
It's a solid story, that's why.
Yeah, and the story's so good. That's the thing. The writing's so good. Yeah. There are obviously some episodes that have their moments, like The Low Road, that doesn't really exist. But, by and large. And the thing is, I could say animated, and I think animated is pretty peak as well. But
can we do a Short Circuits? Can we bring that back and talk about
for sure.
The Low Road. I'd love to get you on the document.
Oh, maybe not that one. That doesn't exist.
All copies, his entry point.
All copies of that episode were deleted.
Why doesn't this episode exist or something, and then have a little face of you?
I would do a thumbnail face for that one.
Thumbnail, just for that one.
Thumbs down,
hands over your face like that. Like
I hate it so much.
Yeah. But I mean, I could say animated as well. But I think pound for pound, I think Beast Wars maybe edges it a little bit. I just think it's just. I mean, Dinobot. Just incredible, What can you say?
It's a good one though, isn't it? And obviously we were doing Short Circuits, and there is a lot of stuff to choose from there as well. So you can't really go wrong. So good question from Star Saber 39, appreciated. Star Saber 0 to 38, please get in touch. We'd like to hear from you as well. The next question is from Elliot Wright. And we know Elliot well.
Oh, Elliot.
We've seen him at TFM
lad.
many a time. Hello, Elliot.
Oh, two great
Just started
people.
following me on TikTok, didn't you, Elliot? Thanks for that. Appreciate it. How many hours a week do you spend on making Triple Takeover content?
How many hours
this
per
is a
week?
Sixo question, because this is just life, really, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah, it depends who you
mainly.
ask.
So for recording, we do about, couple of hours, 3 hours sometimes, depending on how juicy it gets on the chat. But it's
Juicy.
like 2-3 hours for the recordings, isn't it, per week?
In theory, it's about 2 hours. In practice, it always
3 hours.
Always 3. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the weeks. Every week, we're like, probably try and
It's
make
always
this
you
a
two
quick
saying,
one,
"We'll
quick
make
one
this a quick
tonight. And
one."
then
I just see the glint in your eyes, and then that's it. You're off.
Yeah.
You get excited. But
Liam starts
true.
making puns.
So we started tonight at 9, and it's now 11:15.
Pun
so,
life.
But half of that is us shooting the shit as well. Do you know what I mean?
There
That's the thing.
Yeah. And then getting interrupted by children or dogs, or sometimes cats as well.
Yeah. Do you remember the cat fight?
Oh, God, yeah, the cat fight. Yeah.
cat fight.
Yeah.
The 2 cats swirling around. That was such a random evening, honestly.
Yeah.
Sat with like Nick
It's when you
Roach.
came back, with this, just mortified look on your face, really confused,
I was like, what the hell's going on? Random cats in my house. Okay, one cat and my cat, yeah.
It's worth mentioning the amount of work that you do as well, Sixo, behind the scenes as well, because you are editing and content
He
creating.
does a good hour more a week than us, doesn't he?
Just the 1 hour.
10 minutes. 10 minutes all done by AI now, isn't it?
It's a really productive hour per
Push a
week.
button.
Yeah.
I feel like it's actually weird doing the work with him, Jason.
Well, it feels like he's always asking.
Yeah,
us.
you
It's
guys
is
are there
good?
with me.
It's like, move it left, move it
Yeah.
right, move it up.
Have you tried this font? Cut an outline around it. It's normally,
That is true.
that's
You did do that the other week.
Yeah.
That's
I
That's my
do
general contribution to all of it.
I do love it when one of you guys is like, I think we should do this. And I'm always like, do you?
The royal
I'm so glad that you think that. Yeah. No, I'm joking, of course. I think it works well because it is a really collaborative effort. I think it's sort of by default. We used to split things differently, didn't we? But by default, it has sort of a lot of it comes to me. But that's fine. I enjoy doing it as well. So
You're extremely good at it, and we very much appreciate it.
We should also give Menestreaker a shout out. He's one of our patrons who does help us on Short Circuits.
Amazing work on that. So
really
definitely. I think the honest answer is how many hours do we spend? I'd probably rather not count.
we don't use any timesheets, and we probably should.
Yeah, definitely. But it's all good fun, and it's a fun show to produce.
Exactly. Yeah. Because, we don't count going and chatting to all the patrons, do we? And we're pretty much there all the time.
That's true. If you added up Discord time as well.
Yeah,
then...
it's like, it's like that's a wonderful, I find that I just jump into that when I'm at work and then suddenly like an hour's gone.
Chatting to
people.
It's a time drain, isn't it? Time sink.
Yeah.
In a good way, but like
in a good way though. Exactly. Yeah. It's great. And it's lovely chats on there. There's so many different channels. Come and join
if you haven't
everyone.
signed up, go and join our Discord.
Boom.
Yeah.
There we go.
Popping.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's just another perk of our Patreon. So, and do get on our Discord and on our Patreon in general. So you can go and find it at patreon.com/Triple Takeover. You absolutely want to go and check that out. And we do have a sponsor for the evening as well. That is tfsource.com. So absolutely go and check them out for all your Transformers needs. I'm sure they'll have SS86 Megatron up before too long anyway, but they have plenty of other stuff as well, so you're all good. Go and check them out. And otherwise, chaps, where can they find us, Liam?
We are at Triple Takeover on everything other than Instagram, where it's at @triple_takeover. Something like that. Yeah,
something like that. Just search us, look us up, we're out there.
Yeah, that's it.
Check us out.
Triple Takeover.
Yeah.
So guys, Sixo, where are you these days? You're everywhere still, and you've been doing lots of new videos. Judging by my my YouTube subscription feed.
Yeah, bing, 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 bing.
Totally. I've been trying to be productive on the old YouTube. So
Very impressed.
Thank you. Go and give me a sub on YouTube if you have not already. I would appreciate that. So just I'm trying with the old YouTube. I've sort of neglected it for a bit, but I'm making a big push.
Good, nice.
And we got to push back.
Yeah, exactly. Sixo's making his big push.
You are in green, so you are like the devastator of
that's true.
Transformers YouTube.
Yeah, that's going to be your next thumbnail. Exactly. I have big news, guys. I have a website.
A website?
I was going to say Transformers.com. That's not right. I don't own that one. That's a different
Bought
website.
that as well, have you?
Yeah, that would be good. Jason Wagner, spelled with a W.com is my... No, that's wrong. No, wait. It's jasonwagner.co.uk. It's that one.
And not .com? You can't
not
do
.com. Don't have that. Don't go there. That'll give the other Jason Wagner kudos.
Well, I was going to say, who is there another Jason Wagner? Is there a Jason Wagner.com?
There's a parked website there, I think.
Okay, I'm on jasonwagner.com.
It's parked. Oh, so annoying.
Just says Lander.
Yeah, that's just parked. That means basically it's a parked domain, so you have to buy
Lander
it for
Calrissian.
millions of dollars. jasonwagner.co.uk. Go and check it out. It took me 13 minutes to make that website.
Wow.
Slower than the Kessel Run, Jason. So...
I like it because on here it says that you have been a lifelong fan of Transformers since I was 7. Which it's not lifelong then, is it? Do you know what I mean?
I didn't write it, you know.
I mean, 7 whole years, man. What are you on about?
I know. Yeah, lifelong. I get this whole time thing. I like to go how I mean.
So what's
to
that?
continue.
He's been a Transformers fan for 77 years or something.
Probably something like that. It feels like that. So yeah, check me out there. There'll be all the links to everywhere that I exist beyond that as well.
Excellent. And I am Toybox Soapbox. Anyway, there's an app.
Boom. Copyright, trademark,
there it is.
IP audit done, owned, patented. If you can.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That'll do it for tonight. And SS86 Megatron. Can't wait to pre-order the thing. Some of you obviously already have it in hand for exorbitant sums, but for the rest of us, we're waiting on a measly pre-order, and it looks pretty exciting, I think. But what do you guys think? Let us know. Hit us up. Tell us all about it, and otherwise, we'll catch you for the next episode.
Seductive thighs.